The human awoke slowly, the dim lights of the room flickering across his vision. For a moment he wasn't sure where he was. The air smelled faintly metallic, like nothing he had known on Earth. The steady hum of machinery surrounded him, almost like a heartbeat. His body ached in ways he didn't recognize. Something had happened, something serious, but the details were fuzzy. He tried to move and realized his suit was gone. Not torn or damaged, just absent. He froze. The human body was naturally vulnerable without protection, especially in space, but he had survived worse. His training had taught him to remain calm under pressure, to assess a situation before reacting. That instinct had saved him more than once. Then he felt a presence. Above him, a figure leaned over, scanning his body with equipment he didn't understand. The alien's skin shimmered with faint colors that shifted depending on the light. Its eyes were large, reflective, and intelligent, and they studied him with a curiosity he hadn't seen before. The human blinked, trying to make sense of the scene. He was conscious, unarmed, and completely exposed, yet he did not feel fear. Instead, he felt observation, pure analytical interest. The alien commander straightened and spoke in a series of tones that seemed musical but carried weight. A translator device on his wrist flickered to life. Words formed, clear enough for him to understand. Human life signs stable. Observational study continues. The alien observed, its head tilting slightly, as if noting his movements like one would track an experiment. The human noted every detail, the way its limbs moved, the angles of its joints, the way its eyes reflected the light. Every detail mattered. Humans had always survived by noticing small things that others overlooked. That had been true on Earth and even more so out here in uncharted space. "I'm awake," he said clearly, his voice steady. The alien froze slightly, as though hearing him speak had been unexpected. It made a series of clicking noises, and the translator rendered them. "Your vocal output is within normal parameters." Reaction to observation exceeds expectations. Even here, surrounded by beings who likely believed humans fragile, he understood the power of calm and confidence. He took a deep breath and began to inspect his surroundings. The chamber was small, functional, filled with panels of blinking lights and holographic displays. Wires ran along the walls like veins. A faint vibration hummed under the floor, the heartbeat of a living ship. There were no visible weapons, but there were containment fields and what appeared to be automated monitoring drones. Every element suggested that this was a research vessel, not a warship. The alien commander tilted its head again, as if reading his thoughts. Humans had a reputation for unpredictability, but the calmness in his demeanor seemed to intrigue it. A low tone echoed through the chamber, and the translator relayed the message. "Your species exhibits unusual calm in high-risk scenarios. This is unexpected. Further testing required." He had been here before in other situations, though not with aliens. Survival often required understanding your observer as much as your environment. He would show them what humans were capable of without giving them a reason to feel threatened. Slowly, he stood. The lack of a suit made him acutely aware of his vulnerability, but it also gave him freedom. He could move quickly, easily, without being restricted by layers of material. The alien commander stepped back slightly, its movements precise, almost ceremonial. Humans had long mastered body language as a form of communication. This would be his first tool. "Where am I?" he asked. His voice was calm, questioning but not submissive. "You are aboard the vessel designated Atherin 4, the translator responded. "You were rescued from your damaged ship. Your survival was improbable." Observation, interrogation, and understanding were part of the process. He would need to navigate this carefully. He walked toward a panel and examined it. Buttons, lights, and holograms shifted as he passed his hand over them. He didn't understand the alien technology fully, but humans were adaptable. He could learn quickly, especially if survival depended on it. Every species had rules, systems, and patterns. Humans were experts at finding weaknesses in those patterns. The alien commander made another series of sounds. "Your species demonstrates rapid learning potential. This is advantageous, but also dangerous." He recalled Earth's history. Wars survived, natural disasters endured, civilizations rebuilt. Strength wasn't always measured by weapons or armor. It was measured by adaptability, creativity, and persistence. In that room, he represented all of that. Another presence entered the chamber, smaller than the commander, but equally focused. The alien looked at him curiously, emitting a high-pitched tone. The translator relayed, "This unit is your assistant observer. Learn cooperation." He nodded slightly, acknowledging the newcomer. The observation continued, hours passing with a series of tests that felt more like subtle challenges than direct confrontation. He was asked to move objects, respond to light patterns, and solve puzzles designed to measure problem-solving speed and ingenuity. Every test seemed tailored to analyze his physical abilities as well as his thought process. He realized the aliens had underestimated humans. They had expected panic, fear, confusion. Instead, they were witnessing calm, strategic thinking and adaptability. Each movement he made was deliberate, demonstrating that humans were capable of handling more than they appeared. The alien commander paused. Unexpected, your endurance, patience, and intelligence surpass projections. Humanity may be more capable than previously assessed. The moment he gained respect, even from a species more advanced in technology, doors would open. As the first part of the observation ended, the human reclined in a medical pod to rest. He had survived the immediate challenge, but he knew this was only the beginning. Across the galaxy, humans were considered fragile, primitive, and easily overlooked. But time and again, humans had turned the impossible into reality. He closed his eyes, letting the hum of the ship fill his senses. The alien commander stood nearby, silent, still studying him. For the first time, he felt the weight of potential. Humans could endure, adapt, and rise. Even here, even among observers who thought themselves superior, humans had the power to surprise. And they always would. The human awoke to the soft hum of the ship, a sound that had begun to feel almost like a companion. The alien commander was already there, standing at the edge of the chamber, its eyes reflecting the dim light. This time, the presence felt less clinical and more evaluative. Every movement of the human had been noted, every pause, every calculation. The aliens had spent hours watching him sleep, recording his breathing patterns, muscle responses, and even the subtle micro-movements of his body. He knew that now. He stretched slowly, careful to move deliberately. Humans had a long history of survival, and much of that came from understanding one's own body. Every joint, every muscle, every reflex had been honed over millennia to respond to danger. He could feel it now, his mind sharp, his senses alert, his instincts ready. He sat up fully, and the alien commander tilted its head slightly, almost imperceptibly. It was a gesture that suggested interest, not fear. "Good morning," the human said, his voice calm, steady. "What's on today's agenda?" On Earth, humans had thrived in environments far more dangerous than this. They had climbed mountains where oxygen was thin, crossed deserts where heat could kill in minutes, and navigated storms that could drown entire civilizations. Survival was in their blood, and so was adaptability. He stood and followed the alien commander out of the chamber. The corridors of the ship were sleek and functional, with panels that glowed softly underfoot. Drones moved silently above, monitoring them, taking note of every step, every breath, every glance. The human observed them carefully, noticing the patterns of their flight, the timing of their movements. If he needed to, he could use them to his advantage. Observation was always the first step to mastery. As they reached a larger chamber, other crew members came into view. Their forms were unfamiliar, their movements precise, yet there was a rigid order to their actions that suggested hierarchy and discipline. Humans had always learned to read social cues, even across species. One glance told him who was in charge, who followed, and who would act in case of emergency. The first exercise began. The human was asked to operate a panel of unknown technology, moving holographic icons, aligning energy flows, and redirecting power. The aliens watched, not expecting him to succeed quickly. But humans had a long history of understanding machines, improvising when instructions were unclear, and finding solutions where others saw only confusion. Within minutes, he had completed the task, the lights on the panel shifting from red to green. The alien commander emitted a tone that the translator rendered. Response time and accuracy exceed expectations. Adjustment in evaluation protocols recommended. Next came a physical assessment. The human was asked to move through a series of obstacles, test his agility, speed, and coordination. The corridors shifted and reconfigured themselves, walls moving, floors tilting. The human adapted with ease. He leaped over shifting panels, slid under barriers, and adjusted to sudden changes in gravity. Every step demonstrated not just strength but instinctive adaptation, a combination of mind and body in perfect balance. The alien observers murmured among themselves. The commander's head tilted again, its eyes narrowing slightly in interest. Physical response superior to initial models. Human adaptability high. After the exercises, the human was led to a chamber with a simulation. It depicted a hostile environment, jagged terrain, electrical storms, and sudden shifts in conditions. His task was to reach the center and retrieve a glowing object. It was a test of strategy and endurance, not just physical strength. He paused, observing the environment. Every detail mattered: the way the simulated wind moved, the subtle shifts in terrain, the timing of hazards. Humans had survived on Earth by noticing details others overlooked. He calculated the safest route, the points where speed was necessary and where caution would preserve energy. Then he moved. Hours passed in this way. Exercise after exercise, puzzle after puzzle, the human demonstrated a combination of intelligence, adaptability, and resilience that was startling to the alien crew. By now, they had begun to whisper among themselves, their tones carrying over the translator. Analysis must be updated. Human capabilities exceed prior assumptions. The aliens' reaction was part of the evaluation too. They were beginning to realize that humans were not the fragile species they had assumed. In every test, humans had historically adapted, improvised, and thrived. That knowledge gave him confidence. During a brief rest period, he explored the ship further. The corridors led to observation decks with windows revealing the expanse of space. Stars streaked past as the vessel traveled at incredible speeds. He felt a sense of perspective, a reminder of how small one species could seem in the vastness of the universe. And yet, humans had always found a way to assert themselves, to survive, and to thrive. The alien commander approached him, its presence more intentional this time. It studied him silently, as if weighing something beyond the visible metrics. Human behavior intriguing, calmness under observation unusual. Mental processing demonstrates high flexibility. There was respect there, subtle but present. Respect was something humans understood intimately. It was often earned in silence, through deeds rather than words. Later, he was presented with a challenge that combined all the elements he had faced separately. A complex puzzle that required precise movement, rapid problem-solving, and creative thinking. The simulation created an environment where hazards appeared unpredictably, and the path forward was not obvious. He paused, assessing, calculating, improvising. Minutes passed, and he moved with fluid confidence, each decision informed by observation and instinct. When he reached the center and completed the challenge, the aliens emitted tones that the translator struggled to convey. Unexpected success. Human capability beyond prediction. Evaluation must be escalated. He had turned a situation designed to test him into a demonstration of human potential. As the day ended, the alien commander studied him silently. There was no threat, no hostility, only analysis, curiosity, and now respect. Humans had a way of demonstrating strength quietly, without arrogance, yet so clearly that it could not be ignored. The human reclined once more in the medical pod. Exhaustion threatened, but it was the kind of tiredness that came from accomplishment and learning. He had survived the evaluations, proven capability, and shown adaptability. These aliens, advanced and intelligent, were beginning to understand that humans were not fragile. He reflected on what he had learned about them. Observation was a tool, but analysis was also limited by assumption. The aliens had underestimated the human element: creativity, unpredictability, resilience. History on Earth had always shown that underestimation could be costly. That knowledge was empowering. He closed his eyes, letting the hum of the ship fill his senses once more. Tomorrow would bring new tests, new challenges, and perhaps new understanding. Humans had always risen to challenges. They had endured the harshest conditions, survived impossible odds, and adapted to every environment. And here, in this alien vessel far from Earth, that legacy continued. Somewhere across the galaxy, observers might still believe humans were weak. But as he drifted into sleep, he felt confident that the perception of fragility would not last much longer. Humans were clever, adaptable, and resilient, and that truth, once realized by others, could shift the balance of understanding entirely. The alien commander remained nearby, silent, thoughtful. For the first time, it did not just observe, it considered. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but that unpredictability carried power. In every movement, every decision, and every calm breath, the human demonstrated something profound: survival, intelligence, and quiet dominance. And in the vast expanse of space, that power could not be ignored. The human awoke to a faint vibration running through the ship. It was not a normal hum, but something stronger, a warning he could feel in his bones. Across the room, the alien commander was already alert, scanning the panels with precision. The other crew members moved quickly into position, their movements sharp and controlled. But the human did not panic. Humans had faced countless dangers on Earth, earthquakes, storms, fires, even the chaos of battle. This was just another challenge, and he had a habit of remaining calm when others rushed. He rose from the medical pod and stretched. His muscles ached, but it was the kind of ache that reminded him of endurance. He walked over to a panel that displayed readings of the ship's surroundings. Sensors indicated a fleet of unknown ships approaching at high speed. They were not responding to hails, and their configuration suggested hostility. The alien crew immediately began preparations for defense, but their movements were tense, cautious. They were skilled, yes, but there was fear in their motions, fear born from the unknown. The human observed silently for a moment. Fear was natural, but panic could be fatal. He knew that humans had survived far worse by thinking, by observing, by using ingenuity. His mind began to map possibilities. The ships, likely maneuvers, the range of their weapons, and potential weak points in their formation. The aliens relied heavily on technology, but humans had always found advantage in strategy, improvisation, and adaptability. The alien commander noticed him studying the data and tilted its head. "You are analyzing without authorization. Human reasoning unconventional." They were competent but rigid, and that rigidity could be exploited in moments of crisis. He moved quickly to another panel, beginning to map the incoming ship's approach. Using the ship's own sensors, he identified energy signatures that indicated weapons types, speed, and range. The aliens watched silently as he overlaid his calculations on the holographic map, creating a strategy that none of them had expected. He suggested repositioning shields, rerouting power, and using the ship's maneuvering thrusters in unison to create unexpected angles for defense. The alien commander studied him silently, then emitted a low tone. "Your suggestions are unconventional. They risk exposure." Energy blasts streaked across space, and the ship shuddered under the impact. The human's plan went into motion. He directed power to shields at precise moments, redirected engines to adjust the ship's angle, and instructed the crew on timing evasive maneuvers. Every action relied on observation, timing, and human instinct. The ship responded perfectly, moving in ways that the attacking fleet had not anticipated. The aliens were impressed despite themselves, following the humans' lead. Their own calculations had not accounted for unpredictability, something humans had mastered through millennia of survival. By the time the first wave passed, the human had not only kept the ship intact, but had also turned the enemy's attack into a series of failed maneuvers. The aliens now regarded him with a mixture of respect and disbelief. "Human tactics, effective beyond projections," the translator relayed. As the immediate danger subsided, the human took a deep breath and walked to the observation deck. The stars outside streaked as the ship traveled at speed, the distant enemy fleet now holding back, perhaps reconsidering. He allowed himself a small, private smile. Humans had always survived because they did not rely solely on strength, but on observation, strategy, and improvisation. The galaxy underestimated them at its peril. The alien commander approached, its steps careful but deliberate. "You have changed the course of this encounter. Human ingenuity surpasses initial assumptions." Humans were never easy to predict, and the more the aliens observed, the more they realized that the human mind operated differently. Not better or worse, just flexible, adaptable, capable. Later, the human was asked to assist in repairing the ship's damaged systems. While the aliens relied on exact instructions and schematics, he approached the task differently. He examined the damaged circuits, observed the flow of energy, and improvised solutions using available materials. Within minutes, systems that had appeared inoperable were functional again. The alien engineers stared in astonishment. Humans had a way of solving problems through both intellect and instinct, a combination that was difficult to quantify. "Your methods, unorthodox yet effective," the commander said. "Humans demonstrate adaptability not previously observed." Here in the vacuum of space among alien observers, it was proving just as powerful. That night, the human observed the crew during their rest cycle. Unlike him, they were tense, alert, still processing the events of the day. He realized that fear of the unknown could limit potential. Humans did not deny fear, but they had learned to control it, to channel it into action rather than hesitation. That control had allowed them to thrive where others failed. The alien commander approached quietly, standing nearby as the human examined a star map. "Your species does not fear uncertainty, it uses it," the translator relayed. The human nodded. "Uncertainty is part of existence. Acting despite it is what defines survival." Another fleet, larger and more organized, was approaching. This time, the threat was undeniable. The human stood immediately, analyzing the readings, calculating trajectories, and assessing potential strategies. He could see patterns in the fleet's formation, timing in their maneuvers, and weaknesses in their structure. Humans had evolved to recognize patterns in chaos, to predict outcomes from incomplete information, and to improvise solutions under pressure. He moved quickly, issuing instructions to the alien crew with confidence. They followed, some hesitant, some impressed, all realizing that humans brought something new to the table, an ability to act decisively in ways that were not pre-programmed, not dictated by rigid rules, but guided by instinct, experience, and calculation. The first ships attacked. The human directed energy shields, rerouted power to the engines, and maneuvered the vessel in ways that seemed almost impossible. The enemy fleet's strategies failed repeatedly, unable to predict the unpredictability of human decision-making. The aliens watched in awe as their vessel dodged attacks, countered threats, and remained unscathed. Finally, the fleet withdrew. The human had not only survived, but had ensured the safety of the entire ship and crew. The alien commander regarded him with newfound respect. Human tactics, remarkable, species underestimated. Humans had always risen from underestimated beginnings, and now, among aliens, the pattern continued. As he returned to the observation deck, he gazed out into the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns, but humans had always thrived in the unknown. They adapted, they survived, and they excelled where others failed. He knew that this encounter would be remembered not as a victory of technology, but as a demonstration of human ingenuity, calm, and resourcefulness. The alien commander remained nearby, silent, contemplative. It was no longer simply observing. It was learning. Humans were unpredictable, yes, but that unpredictability carried strength. The more it watched, the more it understood that humans could adapt, improvise, and survive in ways that many species could not. For the human, it was not a moment of triumph or pride. It was simply survival. But in every calm decision, every measured response, and every act of ingenuity, he had revealed something essential about humanity. They were capable, resilient, and worthy of recognition in a galaxy that had long underestimated them. And somewhere deep among the stars, other civilizations would soon learn the same lesson. The human stood on the observation deck, watching the stars stretch past in endless streaks. The galaxy was alive with movement, ships passing silently, energy pulses from distant systems, and distant flashes that hinted at battles beyond their sensors. He felt no fear. Humans had always faced dangers far beyond their size and technology. They had crossed oceans, climbed mountains, endured storms, and survived wars. All of that experience, all of that resilience was part of him now, guiding his instincts as clearly as the stars guided navigators. The alien commander approached, its gait precise, yet there was a note of hesitation in its movement. It spoke in tones that the translator converted. "We have received an alert from nearby systems. A hostile fleet has been attacking unarmed settlements. Your analysis may be required." The images made it clear. The attackers were organized, ruthless, and fast. Any hesitation could result in massive loss of life. Humans had always faced overwhelming odds and had learned that decisive action, even under uncertainty, could turn the tide. He began to calculate, mapping trajectories, predicting enemy movements, and finding potential weak points. The alien crew watched silently as he worked. They had observed humans before, but this was different. Now they were seeing humans in command, not simply surviving tests, but making life-and-death decisions that required courage, logic, and creativity all at once. "I suggest a direct approach," he said. "We can intercept at 2 points. The first point will distract their formation, while the second will disable their main propulsion systems. That should minimize damage to the civilian ships." Earth's history was full of explorers, inventors, and warriors who had succeeded where others would have hesitated. Boldness was a tool as much as intelligence or strength. The crew began executing his plan. Humans were accustomed to improvisation, to using resources creatively, and he guided them with calm precision. Energy shields were reinforced at specific angles, engines rerouted to create deceptive motion, and targeting arrays were adjusted based on patterns he had predicted. Every action was deliberate, timed to the second. As they approached the first engagement point, the enemy fleet fired. Energy beams lanced across space, striking near the hull. The human remained calm, adjusting shields, predicting their angles, and guiding the alien crew. The ship moved with a fluid precision that surprised even the alien engineers. Humans were small, yes, but their ability to process danger and respond creatively had always allowed them to survive where larger or stronger species failed. They reached the first intercept point and the human gave his order. "Deploy countermeasures in 3, 2, 1. The alien crew followed, deploying energy nets and automated drones that moved in patterns designed to confuse the attackers. The enemy fleet faltered, their formation disrupted. The human strategy worked, but the danger was not over. The second point of engagement loomed, and this time the stakes were higher. The enemy fleet's main ships were faster and more heavily armed. The human quickly analyzed their behavior and adjusted the plan. He relied not just on calculations, but on instinct honed by generations of human survival. "Divide their attention," he instructed. "Half the drones distract their targeting systems. Use the rest to disable propulsion arrays. Timing is critical, wait for the third wave, then strike." The human guided the crew with sharp precision, adjusting shields, rerouting power, and calculating angles in real time. The alien crew began to notice a remarkable thing. Humans were not just reacting, they were anticipating. Every maneuver had purpose, every adjustment considered outcomes that the aliens' algorithms had not predicted. Minutes stretched like hours. The human's calm was steady, unshaken, and the crew began to trust his guidance. Where the alien systems had calculated risk, the human calculated possibility. Where the algorithms had predicted likely outcomes, the human predicted opportunity. The enemy fleet's formation began to crumble. Their main ships slowed unexpectedly, propulsion systems faltering under the carefully timed strikes orchestrated by the human. The alien commander emitted a long tone, which the translator rendered as, "Human command effective beyond projections. Tactical acumen exceeds expectation." But it was impossible to ignore that the aliens were learning something crucial. Humans could not only survive, they could lead, think, and adapt in ways others had not anticipated. By the time the engagement ended, the civilian ships were safe. The enemy fleet retreated, disrupted, and damaged, and the human strategy had minimized loss and preserved life. The alien crew looked at him differently now. They had observed humans before, tested them, and underestimated them. Now they had witnessed decisive action, ingenuity, and calm leadership. The alien commander approached. "Your species demonstrates capability, strategy, and resolve. Humans underestimated. Your actions saved lives and shifted outcome. Humans have always done what needs to be done. We adapt, we survive, we protect." In the aftermath, the crew worked to repair damage, restock supplies, and debrief. The human assisted where needed, improvising solutions with limited materials, demonstrating again the combination of ingenuity and endurance that had characterized humanity for millennia. Later, the human stood on the observation deck once more, gazing at the galaxy. Stars stretched infinitely, and beyond them countless worlds waited. Some would be hostile, others neutral, and a few might offer friendship. Humans had survived Earth's harshest conditions and had ventured further than anyone had thought possible. In every challenge, humans had adapted, learned, and triumphed, not always by brute force, but by intelligence, creativity, and resilience. The alien commander joined him silently. "Your species, remarkable. We have observed much. Your actions demonstrate qualities rare among known civilizations. They thrived not by waiting for approval, but by taking initiative, solving problems, and overcoming challenges." The human finally spoke. "We do what must be done. That's how we survive. That's how we thrive." Humans had shown more than resilience. They had shown leadership, strategy, and the ability to act decisively under uncertainty. The lesson was clear. Humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and remarkably capable. The humans spent the night observing the stars. Somewhere in the vastness of the galaxy, civilizations underestimated humans. But time and again, humans had proven that underestimation was a mistake. Strength was not always measured in size or weapons. It was measured in intelligence, adaptability, courage, and determination, and humans possessed all of it in abundance. The alien commander remained nearby, silently observing. It was no longer simply studying the human. It was learning, reconsidering, and beginning to see the true potential of humanity. Humans were not fragile, primitive, or predictable. They were capable of actions that could shift outcomes, save lives, and earn respect across worlds. The human closed his eyes, allowing the hum of the ship to lull him toward rest. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new encounters, and new tests. But humans had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. Adaptation, ingenuity, and resilience were in their nature. And in the galaxy, that would never go unnoticed. Somewhere beyond the stars, humans were no longer a species to be underestimated. The day's events had revealed something fundamental. Humans could survive, lead, and inspire, even in circumstances where others believed them weak. And that truth would continue to echo, quietly, steadily, and unmistakably, wherever humans went. The human lay down, feeling the satisfaction that came from accomplishment and understanding. He had survived another day, guided others, and proven once again that humans were not to be discounted. The galaxy might doubt them, but humans had long thrived on the impossible. And the human mind, sharp, calm, and adaptable, was proof of that enduring legacy. And somewhere, deep in the cold vastness of space, the alien commander silently acknowledged that humans were not just survivors. They were a species capable of shaping outcomes, of leading when others faltered, and of rising beyond expectation. The human stood on the observation deck as the ship approached a massive space station orbiting a luminous planet. The station was enormous, a hub of diplomacy and trade for countless civilizations across the galaxy. Its size was intimidating, but the human felt no fear. Humans had always faced overwhelming odds and emerged stronger. Their history was filled with challenges that seemed impossible to overcome, and they had survived every time. This was no different. The alien commander approached, silent and deliberate. The translator rendered its tones. "We are approaching the Galactic Assembly. Representatives from many species will witness your presence. Your actions have earned you a place at the table." Earning a place at the table was one thing, commanding respect and demonstrating humanity's capabilities was another. He had survived tests, guided the alien crew, and protected lives. Now, the eyes of the galaxy would watch, and he intended to show them that humans were not to be underestimated. As the ship docked, the crew moved efficiently to prepare for the assembly. The human followed the commander into the docking bay, noting every detail: the layout of the station, the behavior of alien personnel, and the security measures. Humans had always excelled at understanding environments quickly. Observation, calculation, and adaptation were part of their nature. The assembly chamber was massive, a circular hall filled with representatives from hundreds of civilizations. Their forms were varied, some tall and slender, some short and armored, others with multiple limbs or complex sensory organs. They watched the human with curiosity, whispering among themselves. Many had heard reports of his actions: the rescue of civilian ships, the disruption of the enemy fleet, and the demonstration of remarkable strategy and leadership. The human stepped forward, maintaining calm confidence. Fear or hesitation would undermine the impression he needed to convey. Humans had learned long ago that presence mattered as much as words. His posture, his steady gaze, and his measured movements conveyed strength without aggression. The alien commander spoke first, introducing him to the assembly. "This human has demonstrated qualities rare among observed species: adaptability, courage, ingenuity, and leadership. He represents humanity in this forum." Humans had been considered primitive, fragile, and unpredictable. Yet here stood one among them, calm, capable, and undeniably competent. The human took a step forward, allowing his words to resonate. "I am a representative of humanity," he began, voice steady, clear, and firm. "We are survivors, we are thinkers, we are builders, explorers, and defenders. We have faced challenges on our homeworld that would have destroyed many other species. We have endured storms, diseases, wars, and disasters, and we have adapted and thrived." They were capable of extraordinary thought, decisive action, and enduring courage. He continued, carefully choosing his words. "Humanity does not claim superiority. We only claim presence. We survive, we protect, and we act. When faced with danger, we do not flee, we do not hesitate, we adapt. That is our nature, and it is why we endure." The human had not boasted. He had not threatened. He had simply stated facts, supported by actions the galaxy had witnessed firsthand. Humans had a history of quiet strength, and it was impossible to deny it now. A representative from a reptilian species, tall and armored, stepped forward. Its voice, translated through the universal device, was curious but respectful. You speak of survival and resilience, yet your species is young in galactic terms. What ensures that humans will continue to endure beyond your homeworld? Humanity learns, changes, and endures. That is our guarantee. Adaptability and persistence are in our nature. Few had demonstrated the combination of courage, adaptability, and calm decisiveness that humans displayed so naturally. The alien commander, standing beside him, added, "Human actions have already altered outcomes in critical situations. Their capability is now undeniable." Humans did not need to boast. They acted. They survived. They adapted. And through those qualities, they earned respect. A holographic display showed the fleets that had threatened the civilian settlements. The human's mind quickly processed the information. He had already devised improvements for the alien crew, adjustments to tactics, and strategies to prevent similar attacks in the future. Humanity's contribution was tangible, practical, and effective. Another representative, this one a multi-limbed species with sharp sensory organs, asked, "How do humans coordinate under threat? How do you manage without advanced neural networks or predictive algorithms?" "We notice patterns, anticipate outcomes, and adapt instantly. Technology helps, but it is our ability to think, to improvise, and to remain calm that allows us to succeed. That is the human advantage." Humans were not just survivors, they were problem solvers, leaders, and protectors. The alien commander leaned slightly closer. "Your species demonstrates qualities rare among known civilizations. You are not only resilient, you are a model for adaptability and effectiveness." Humanity had endured countless challenges, yet now they had a chance to be recognized beyond their own world. The galaxy was vast, full of unknowns, dangers, and opportunities. But humans had always faced the unknown with courage, creativity, and persistence. Those qualities had ensured their survival and would now ensure their recognition. The session continued with discussion and questions, but the human remained calm, deliberate, and insightful. Every answer he gave reinforced what had already been proven. Humans were capable, intelligent, and adaptable. The representatives listened carefully, some nodding, others taking notes, all aware that humans had demonstrated exceptional skill and judgment. When the session concluded, the assembly passed a resolution acknowledging humanity as a species capable of contributing meaningfully to galactic affairs. There was no debate. The evidence had been undeniable. Humans had survived impossible odds, protected others, and demonstrated leadership and ingenuity that could not be ignored. The human stepped back, letting the acknowledgement sink in. He did not feel pride. Humans rarely relied on pride. They relied on action, resilience, and the knowledge that they could endure. Recognition from others was a byproduct, not the goal. Yet the acknowledgement was significant. It confirmed what humans had always known. Their strength lay not just in technology or power, but in mind, body, and spirit. The alien commander remained by his side, emitting low, contemplative tones. Humanity has proven its place among civilizations. Underestimation is no longer an option. They were capable of achieving remarkable outcomes, even in circumstances that seemed impossible. As the human returned to the ship, he reflected on what had transpired. Humans had always been underestimated, from their early days on a fragile world called Earth to encounters with more advanced species. Time and again, they had proven that resilience, adaptability, and intelligence could overcome size, technology, or expectation. And here, in the heart of the galaxy, that truth had been made undeniable. The alien crew watched him with new respect. They had seen firsthand what humans could achieve. Quiet strength, clever strategy, and decisive action were not just traits, they were the essence of humanity. And in the galaxy, these qualities would ensure that humans were no longer overlooked or dismissed. The human stood at the observation deck one last time, gazing at the endless stars. Each point of light represented a challenge, a potential threat, or an opportunity. But humans had never feared the unknown. They had faced it countless times, adapted, and thrived. That was their legacy, that was their strength, that was humanity. And as the ship moved silently through the stars, carrying humans into a galaxy that had once underestimated them, one fact became undeniable. Humans had earned their place not by force but by intellect, courage, and unwavering resilience. They were survivors, innovators, and leaders, and the universe had taken notice. The human allowed himself a brief, satisfied breath. The galaxy was vast, uncertain, and full of challenges. But humans had always faced the impossible and prevailed. And now, across the stars, that enduring legacy had been revealed to all. The alien commander emitted one final tone of acknowledgement. Humanity is exceptional. We will remember this day. Humans had survived, adapted, and now, at last, the galaxy recognized what they had always known. Human potential was limitless, and their story was only beginning. The stars stretched endlessly ahead, and for the first time, humans were not merely observers of the galaxy. They were participants, respected, capable, and fully recognized as equals among the civilizations of the cosmos.